I have a question. I have a task. I have a little game for everyone to play. This is like such an overwritten script that has no actual script to it. So there's going to be a lot of this. I warn you in advance.
Oh, hello. Love this.
A lot of this. To come.
I love disclaimers before a game.
Horror Mummy is back, and so we are going to do what she says.
Rebecca, you can't put that out for free on a podcast. You've got to charge for that shit. Me and Liam just blushed so bad. I was like,
I can't look at you.
I can't. She's been so quiet for over a year, actually, because we did our Halloween episode in July last year. So it's,
Oh, yeah, we did.
It was just... I simultaneously love and hate that bit so much. I was like, I got to bring it back for our actually launching on Halloween episode. Yeah, feel free to call me Horror Mummy, just not to my face, I guess. Genuinely would make me very uncomfortable, but it's a label I can own with the distancing of the internet. On task.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering which of us can do the best witch's cackle. And also, is it going to absolutely blow out our microphones? Because this may be relevant later.
Yes.
It will.
I don't want to point fingers, but if Rachel specifically could roll her chair back before she tries.
Yes. Oh my God, this is the energy. This is what I wanted.
That microphone is sensitive.
This microphone, yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Since it's my idea, I feel like I should lead, and also then when I have a very very meth brain weak laugh, is that a thing now? Is that our meta? Then we will get over my embarrassment because you will both do better ones and we'll forget about me.
Well, we'll see. Yours could be the best.
I've genuinely been practicing today because...
this is the best.
This is amazing. Okay. This is amazing.
Okay, right.
Discord just...
Yeah, no, I knew Discord was going to blow out, but I'm happy with that one. So
just watching the energy of you doing that, it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that.
I've been channeling the late great Rachel Lillis, who taught me to laugh like Jessie from Team Rocket.
Oh yes. Okay.
Wow.
That was great. Although I didn't hear it.
Powerful.
Heard the first millisecond, and that's all I needed.
Yeah, and then I completely
same,
blew out
literally
my mic.
the same. Yeah, I felt it. I felt the vibration shoot up north.
He wants to go.
It's not quite the brief, but my toxic belief is that I can do a really good Scooby-Doo laugh.
Oh my God, please, yes. That's even better.
Absolutely.
I haven't done it for months. I did it once and I was like, Yolly, I'm the best at that. And then I've never done it since. Let me try, see if it picks it up. I'm just going to launch straight into it and see if it works.
Do it.
Really?
That's really good.
I shocked myself halfway through that. There you go. Not quite witch adjacent.
Witch adjacent for sure. It's a spooky laugh.
It was Scooby-Doo, but someone yanked him away with his
yeah, he's like pulled through a door. Yeah. The second I did that, Yolly texted me and just said, I hate that. Immediately after I did that.
Okay, I'll do my witchy cackle. Get away from my microphone.
All the way pressed against the wall now. Didn't hear it. Looked
Discord.
Great.
Yeah, it was amazing. That was a full body laugh.
Yeah.
You sort of contorted
really
inwards as you did
against the wall. There was something very, very, very spooky about, like, almost like you're just kind of against the sort of attic roofing, but I can see you kind of like in a little cauldrony like hearth place.
Yes.
Just like
like
emerging.
A small cottage.
Yes.
I think just from the millisecond, I think, Rebecca, you got the shrillness. I feel like there's a certain witchy shrill. And I feel like you might have definitely, I can't wait to hear this episode back.
I know, right?
Like you definitely might have got that.
My rogue plan to have an episode that we can't actually hear while we're doing it live.
I know, this is so funny.
or treat, listeners, and welcome to Venture, the AAA gaming podcast. Your three weird sisters for this evening, Liam counts, are, beginning with myself because politeness is for suckers, the evil twin of Rebecca Jones. I think emotional investment in fiction is for losers, and if I met a hot vampire who wanted to tell me about their sad life, I'd stake them and steal their boots. I'm joined by the sleep paralysis demon of Rachel Watts, who likes to whisper in her ear while she sleeps that only 13 indie games have ever been worthy of serious critical consideration, and they were all created by old guard auteurs with dodgy social views. And finally, by the mirror universe reflection of Liam Richardson, who absolutely hates crunch. The one thing we all have in common is that we love AAA games. If your marketing budget didn't match the GDP of Sweden, we don't even want to know about it. So, in conclusion, welcome to our Halloween episode, a really silly concept that we've had in the works for longer than we've had this particular podcast. Yes. I'm hoping that it's going to pay off. Sorry for the screaming. I hope that any headphone users aren't in pain.
Oh,
That was so fucking funny. Oh my god.
that was so good. My goodness.
God.
Loose script my arse. What are you on about, bullet points?
Oh dear. Yeah. So here we are. It's Halloween. I'm obviously so excited that this episode goes out on Halloween.
Yay!
Yeah.
Agreed to pull out all the stops. Even said I was going to do this one in costume. Spoiler, I haven't. One of the reasons is that we're actually recording this on the 15th of October and my costume is still in a suitcase somewhere for my recent house move. So, but I have come as a sleep-deprived gremlin-style games journalist who hasn't had a day off yet this month because there's just so much stuff that kicks off in October. So, you know, we roll with what we have as a costume. Just eye bags and the manic energy of someone who's currently existing on energy drinks, painkillers, and Halloween sweets.
My god.
But here we all are. And, you know, the energy is right, I think, for this endeavour. Which is today we have decided to be our worst selves and have a little bit of a change up, a little bit of a focus on AAA games. Because like, I know that we joke on this podcast that we talk about AAAs a lot, and we do, but it's kind of always in the context, right, of the indies that we love and we want to talk about. So today we thought we'll mix it up. We'll focus on just the biggest ideas, the biggest AAAs that we kind of love. But I decided it wasn't really that fair to trick people, even though I said trick or treat. It's both. That's the trick. The treat is we are actually going to talk a little bit about indies as well. There's a bit of a concept there. I have overscripted this one. There is some high concept shit going on here. It's just
I love it. I'm so into
It's
it.
great.
We are going some places. I'm going to take you, all of you now, on a journey. I want you to picture the entrance to the vault, the prestigious Indieventure vault. But I want you to walk back up the path with me away and notice that there's a little path through the woods. If you care to look, to really see, there's a small path through the woods leading to a ramshackle old shack.
Ooh,
and,
okay.
Inside this shack, there are a few items of interest to us. There is in the corner a bubbling cauldron. On shelves, there are jars filled with murky liquids and even murkier contents. And a table with a figure lying on it. And so today, for our Halloween episode, we're going to do some mad science and some potion crafting. Everybody.
Yeah. Love it. I'm so there.
This is so good. I'm there. Yeah, I'm immersed.
But yeah, I mean, just before we really dive into it, how is everybody other than exhausted?
Well, not anymore. That intro has energized me.
Yeah, literally the same. I've gone from like a 2 to an 8.
Yeah, like it's alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, funny you should say that because yes. I know we discussed this a little bit earlier. I gave you some prompts earlier about what we'd be speaking about. But yeah, I thought as a fun way of structuring this, when we talk about AAAs and maybe the AAAs that have had a big influence on all of us that we don't often talk about because they don't relate so much to the indies that we talk about. my idea for this segment was that we are Frankensteining together our perfect monstrous AAA game for this Halloween. So we're gonna all throw in some components that we love from specific AAA games, from things that we found that we haven't really managed to recapture in indies over the years, or just things that mean a lot to us from our childhood AAA favorites. So
Yes. Incredible.
yeah, so we're gonna
good.
stitch some parts together, and then we're gonna throw the switch and see if it lives.
Scientist lab coats on, gloves.
Damn, I
on.
should have worn a lab coat. There's so many in this house.
Oh yeah.
I also have a lab coat.
Nice.
But
I could have worn a bed sheet as my lab coat.
I like a ghost. Yeah, you could have
like a
worn a bed
ghost.
sheet.
Bedsheet ghost.
Yeah.
Yes.
I assume, Rebecca, that you have lab coats around your house because friend of the podcast, Mick, is a scientist, whereas
Yes.
I have a lab coat because I bought it for a sponsored video I did for Sonic Colours.
That is excellent. I will declare that
That's
we have
good.
mostly legitimately obtained lab coats, but there is also a lab coat that I paid like a not inordinate but not small amount of money to get imported from the US because it has the Welcome to Night Vale lab logo on it.
Oh,
As
that's
a Christmas
cool.
present one year.
That's very fun.
So we have both.
Very cool.
We have both as a lab coat.
So we're kitted out. We're ready
Yes.
to
Yeah,
go.
we're ready.
Yeah, here we are. Get your clipboards ready.
I feel like I'm more of the Igor of the situation.
Yeah.
Sort of just dribbling in the corner, ready to pull the lever.
Have you seen that movie with Daniel Radcliffe as Igor? And I think it's James McAvoy as Dr. Frankenstein.
No.
I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's
What's
like,
wild?
It's so homoerotic. It's very, very.
How have I not seen this?
It's
Wait, the two are romantic?
it's like,
Victor,
you know, subtext, but like it's pretty heavy subtext. Like
Ooh.
I think
Okay.
it's James McAvoy. Definitely Daniel Radcliffe.
it is, yeah, it is. The 2015 movie Victor Frankenstein,
There you
rocking
go.
a respectable
There you go.
26% Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh come on! It was better than 26%.
Incredible.
I want to watch this immediately.
It's good. It's really good. It's like I say, it's campy fun.
So we're building this monster together.
We are indeed. We are building a monster.
Who wants to go first in terms of what limb of AAA we want to hack off and stitch onto this creation?
I wasn't sure whether to affiliate it with specific body parts, considering.
Yeah,
Oh hell!
true.
Shall I just go first because that segues
Yes.
so neatly into why I didn't want to do that.
I think you should
Yeah,
definitely
okay,
kick us
let's do
off.
Because what I wanted to talk about, particularly from the AAA games that I loved as a kid, as a teenager, was the concept of like very pioneering female representation in action and survival games in the late 90s and early noughties. So I know that like I do talk about it a fair bit, but I don't really dig into it a lot these days, which is that I'm a like, massive Tomb Raider fan, especially of the like core design era, first 6 games, which by the way, they've just announced that they're remastering 4 to 6 next year. I'm so excited.
Oh my
Liam
god.
Incredible.
is so angry, but I'm so excited. That's like it's worse than the original trilogy, but it's my era, so I love it, even though it's worse.
Oh.
I love it for you. It's the year of Rebecca, as we've established.
It really
2
is.
Ace Attorney
my God.
releases.
It's so
Yeah.
generous of you to love it for me, even though I know you hate it for yourself.
Oh.
But yeah, I feel like I often like look back on playing Tomb Raider because I played from probably like the late 90s. I started playing Tomb Raider games with my dad. He got into them because at the time, he's retired now, but he was a firefighter, and they often fire stations will have like a pretty up to the minute console. So they all started playing Tomb Raider, and then like my dad really liked it, so we got it on PC for our home PC, and we ended up playing all those games together. And it's like a very important, like you know, like bonding in childhood as well, because like I'm very close to my dad, obviously, and those are some really nice memories. But also the fact that like it wasn't until years later really that I realized that like Lara Croft being a woman was just in itself a very pioneering like idea in games at the time, especially in action games. And yeah, I feel very lucky to have just hit that like developmental moment at the exact stage where I think of like other things, like I watched loads of Buffy, Scandal Noted with Joss Whedon, obviously, but like the women in that show who have all gone on to do like incredible things and like really own their legacy as, the women of Buffy. Like Gillian Anderson in X-Files. There was just a lot of great, like obviously behind the scenes, having women in those roles in fiction was like a big deal, but it was kind of like, it was sold such that at least as a small girl at the time, I wasn't really aware of the message. I was able to like absorb the message without it being like very, very on the nose in terms of the way it was put through in the fiction. And just to have my first grown-up action game star a woman, and to not even have to think about the implications of that for like decades afterwards, you know, is like a super important and very powerful thing from my youth. And then when I grew up a little bit more, another big deal for me was playing Silent Hill 3, which has one of the best and most well-rounded teenage female protagonists in like any game, I would say, but particularly within like the AAA sphere. And to be around the same age as Heather when I played it for the first time, again, is just like, you can't, you know, you cannot overstate how much of an influence that had, especially when I, you know, went to work in the industry. And like, as we all know, there's like a lot of institutional sexism in this industry. And to kind of go in with the confidence that those early kind of role models and those early empowering and representative images gave me, like, yeah, I really love these things. I still really love them. I also just love to like jump around and, you know, shoot and stab and do whatever that you do in action games. I'm a big action game fan, which doesn't often come across, I think, in this podcast, because I'm not into like action indies, like, no shade on any action indies. I just haven't found any that I love as much as I love the kind of big AAA franchises that I'm into. But I love an action adventure game. I love an action RPG. And I think you can't really separate that from how much I loved, you know, those early forays with Tomb Raider, with Silent Hill, and like especially seeing women that I could like relate to as the protagonist. And so, yes, that is what
love that
I would love to submit. I am also, as I say, reluctant to associate it with any particular body part. I feel like we can get through very fast. So.
Okay, that I love that as a good foundation to start off with. Strong,
brilliant,
female, independent protagonist, shooty action. Love it.
Yeah, but don't usually love guns generally in games, but make an exception for Lara.
Yeah, Lara has a gun.
Yeah. Heather et al. I prefer melee weapons generally in games, but you know, Silent Hill has got some of the most iconic, like, bodged together melee weapons that you ever seen in your life. Like, I haven't started Silent Hill 2 remake yet. I do have my copy now. I haven't started it, but I played the original with a plank with a nail stuck through it, and so help me, I'm going to play this one. I'm going to main the plank with the nail stuck through it. And that's going to be my monster killing weapon.
I was going to say, the iconic Silent Hill weapon, and this isn't sarcasm, you are right, of just a bit of wood.
Yes.
Like, I was watching some gameplay of Silent Hill 2 Remake, and I was like, oh, there's the bit of wood.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's the weapon you have for 8 hours.
Genuinely, when they announced the remake of 2, and like, not to toot my own horn here, but I've been a Bloober Team fan the whole time. I'm like the only person who believed in that project throughout. Yeah. Vindicated.
Oh, absolutely.
But when they announced it, the first thing I did was be like, what's the plank with a nail? Like, I had pictures of it. Like, I was just memeing, like downloading, putting hearts around the plank with a nail. I was like, my beloved, as long as you don't mess this character up, everything's going to be fine.
Yes.
That's a stunning foundation. Can I go next?
Hell yeah.
A bit of a tough one to follow that, so I'm just going to roll with it. Yeah, so one of the ways that we described this Frankenstein's monster was to be made out of parts of the AAA industry that we don't see very often in indie games, like reasons why we might still gravitate towards AAA over indies. So I don't play as many AAAs as I used to. I think since leaving games media and doing this podcast, I tend to play more indies. But I was trying to think of, well, if I'm going to buy a big AAA game, what are the components that I'm after? Mm-hmm. For me, this is maybe the most shallow take I have about AAA, is that sometimes I just really like it when they look really nice.
Oh,
I just think that's absolutely acceptable. Yes.
Yeah, games that have like lavish, cutting edge graphics. I was thinking of like Final Fantasy VII Remake, God of War, these games that are just technical masterpieces and are squeezing every last bit of juice out of these modern systems. And that's been something I've always looked to ever since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. As a teenager, I was always coveting a PC with a lovely new graphics card so I could play Crysis in something that was more than 200 by 200 at 4 frames a second, and getting the PlayStation 3 for the first time and just being like, wow, Snake's ass in Metal Gear Solid 4 is so crisp. And one of my most powerful memories of my entire life is when Resident Evil 4 came out, and I was around my cousin's house and he had it on the GameCube and he was playing it on this very small CRT TV, and he was fighting villagers in the village, and he turned to me and he said, games will never look better than this, which he was right. That's why it's the best game ever made. But I just think when games are at their graphical and technical peak, when they are built to, like I say, get every last drop of power out of a machine, there is something quite intoxicating about that. And even though we live in an era of diminishing returns, and even though we live in an era where the amount of people it takes to make a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is bizarre, there's still a small thrill I get from being like, Cloud Strife looks very shiny right now. I quite like that. So yes, that's my first contribution. If we're not doing body parts, if we were, I would have said that this would have been Cloud Strife's beautiful head. I would have popped right on the Frankenstein's body.
That spiky do. Yeah, that is so valid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully believe that, as you say, the diminishing returns do mean that it's probably better if we see fewer like stunning open world vistas disappearing into the distance on PlayStation 5.
Oh, massively.
But damn, I've had a good time with what we've had.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason I played Horizon Zero Dawn was because it looked nice. I don't remember the story. I know Aloy's name. I don't know anyone else's name. I don't know anything, but that game looked so fucking nice. I loved just riding around on my mechanical tiger beast thing, being like, oh, that looks pretty. Oh, that looks nice. Like, so good.
The only moment of like enjoyment I had in Elden Ring was just standing and admiring the scenery.
Oh, Elden Ring is so good.
And then a world boss came and hate crimed me to death, and I never played again.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just trying to have a nice little relaxing
as I was literally trying to find the button for photo mode just to be like, this was beautiful, something just killed me, and I was like, well, rude, that's what I get for trying to enjoy this game.
Rude.
Yeah. That game. But there is something about the art direction, the amount of indies that look visually as nice as AAA games, even though they have a fraction of the budget because their art direction is so striking. So many. But there is something to be said about like an Elden Ring where you have a team that have a vault full of money and are able to pour that into the technical aspects of the game, but then also have that art pass over the top. Because I liked Horizon, but I agree there was nothing much really in it for me after that.
Yeah, I don't remember anything.
It looked nice. Yeah, but there is something about an Elden Ring where you're just like, wow, it's wild that this thing exists.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so valid.
It's definitely, it's got a case of like, it's amazing that we can do this. Now we ask ourselves whether we should, which is a perfect
100%. Yes.
Perfect seg back into the Frankenstein's monster of this concept.
We should awaken the Frankenstein by plugging a PS5 Pro into it with a HDMI cable. It's just the ultimate form of hubris.
Yeah, and then you get your PlayStation Portal, just so that you can sit 5 feet away and play it on a slightly smaller screen because you still need to be connected to your Wi-Fi. But damn, it's tempting. Even though I know it's a stupid idea and I already have a Switch and a Steam Deck, I'm kind of tempted by the Portal, which says everything that's wrong with me.
Oh, so good.
Rachel, what's yours?
So yes, mine. I feel like my picks are a bit nostalgic, but for me, I just liked it when video games were a bit more cheeky with like cheat codes or the ability to like put in
that's a nice one.
Like you'd be like, oh, if I just press all these buttons, like I can just get a jetpack in San Andreas, and the developer's like, that's a thing that they put in on purpose.
Yeah.
Or like with The Sims and Motherload, but so not exactly mods. I think that mods are different, but just like these kind of like tongue-in-cheek, wink, wink, nudge, nudge of like, I've coded this into the game because it's just a fun Easter egg for you to find. And I think some indies do that, but I just think there's not, like, a lot of indie games is like, oh, if you go in the code, there's like a text file that you got to read, and like that's an Easter egg. But there's no like, I don't know, let's make Tony Hawk's head like 3 times the size of his body in like like a skating game or something really fucking wild. I just think that kind of like cheekiness, I'm missing that, you know.
I was thinking about this the other day. It's like cheat codes in general have died out a bit, and that is a real damn shame, because that was like such a staple of like, I'm thinking like the sort of PS2 era that I kind of grew up on, and like the PC games of that era as well that I grew up on.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And so I know that a lot of it kind of grew out of people just like leaving access to the dev kit in there for the players to find, which like...
Yeah, or like an accident during dev, and they were like, we'll just chuck this in. Like, I don't know, make Spyro like be able to like fly, or like there was one in Spyro where if you were underwater and you clicked a certain amount of buttons and like kind of half went into one of the walls or whatever, glitched in, Spyro would be able to fly out of the water. You'd be able to reach like into the sky, other places. I remember that. And I fucking loved it. I was like, this is the best. I don't think that was purposely put in, but it was just like, this is great. I love this. And they, they couldn't fix it. They couldn't. Yeah. So it was just like,
nope, couldn't patch it. That's just the game now.
There it is.
So just, so those kind of, I don't know, silly cheats, cheats things. I miss those.
I love that. It speaks to an era where AAA games were generous in a way that they're just not now.
Oh, that's
interesting
so
word.
True. Like, I don't want to be too much of that person who's like, that would be premium DLC these days, but like maybe it would be, I don't know.
Well, that's what I was about to say, that era, you can literally pinpoint when that died, and it was when Crackdown released its cheat menu as DLC on the Xbox 360.
Oh, did it really? Ew,
it did,
no.
Yeah.
Right?
And suddenly we live in an era where any kind of fun like that, like hidden levels or additional content, is DLC. It's carved out of the game.
Yeah.
And also, I think that's one take. That's probably an unfair take. I think as well, we live in an era where games take so long to make and require so many people, is you probably don't have like one person sat in a corner who's like, hey, I'm going to make it so Tony Hawk's head is real big.
Yes!
That would take like 30 lighting people to make sure that it didn't break the engine. So it's a bit of a, it's probably more the latter than the former, but I think we entered an era where sort of like the publishers were saying, well, we can sell this, and the developers were like, please let us go home and see our children.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I quite like it in indie games sometimes, like when, I don't know, sometimes this happens in demos a lot. You go to an area and then there's just a pop-up that's like, hey, note from the devs, this part is not finished yet. Like, I just think those like the developers' fingerprints on a game is just so charming and really cheeky. And I think that really should be like explored more or just done more. I just really like that. Or like playing the game differently. I don't know. Yeah. So I would put that on this Frankenstein's monster. It's represented by this arm. How do you make it like a... I want to make it like a mouth noise. It's like a squidgy noise, but I don't know. That sounds kind of gross. So just pretend. Just pretend. Yeah. Oh, what about a Lego sound like a click? There we go. That's better.
Yes.
I'll edit that in. I'll edit a little Lego click in.
You entered the cheat code that turned the whole thing into a Lego monster. So now we just
love that.
Clip bits
love
on.
that. So yeah. Should we go back round to you, Rebecca? What's your next one?
So my next one is, I've literally just been looking at my notes and realised that I didn't even include the most important bit of context for this next one for me.
Ooh.
Because a thing that I absolutely love, and you do see it in indie games, but linking into Liam's point in particular, I think that the spectacle you can get from this in like a very, very high budget game is very big for me. Which is, I love in action games. Like, I love fantasy action games with elemental powers. That is one of my absolute favorite things. Because I love, like, obviously I love the Hoyoverse games, which all have those. I love Ghostwire Tokyo. It's one of my favorite games of the last few years. BioShock, that series is absolutely like core to my whole enjoyment of gaming. And I even play like in Vampire the Masquerade, which I play a lot. I play a Tremere, who are like the Bloodmancer characters who, they rather than having a lot of very physical attacks, they use like blood magic, which is a kind of attack in my opinion. And probably where all this comes from is like playing as a very small kid, Hexen and Heretic.
Ooh.
Which really like
I don't
originated.
know what that is.
So think Doom but high fantasy instead of like horror sci-fi. Is it the same people as Doom?
Raven Software, my beloved.
Yes.
Creators of Singularity, the best 7 out of 10 7th generation video game ever made.
Oh, this is cool with the hands.
Yes, and like it's now becoming like really influential on people like Dread XP. Like I think they've got a couple, like at least one team coming out with a very, very heretic like or hexen like game. So you are seeing that like coming through in terms of like the sort of like retro throwback 90s indies. But there is a part of me, very big part of me, quite obviously, which is like I just love like in a game having a character hold up their hands and they look better than my own hands look in front of my face right now. And just shoot like specific. A fireball and shoot like, like blood and flame and air and all of this stuff and like ice and everything. And like, if you're looking at BioShock, you're looking at like, I'm going to shoot some bees at you or whatever. It's just, there's a real satisfaction to me, especially as someone who, as I say, I don't really enjoy a lot of like gun-based action games, so I'm very much in the fantasy action camp for most of my action gaming preferences, and just to like be able to see all of that, and it feels a lot more varied and a lot more interesting, which I think is to be honest, if I'm being really real, more than a moral, any moral feelings I might have about guns, is more that I just find them a bit boring after a while in games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, if you get to, at least you can choose the color and like style of the element that's coming out of your hands.
Yeah, that's
so cool.
Yeah.
And like just things that look amazing. And I remember when I when I got my new TV about a year ago, and I've been playing Ghostwire for ages, but when I saw it for the first time on like the intended TV resolution from the PS5 and just being there like, this is so pretty to look at. Like I just want to keep firing off all these different elemental attacks.
Oh yeah, of course, because in Ghostwire he does like all the symbols with his hands, and then
he does a lot of like very cool like
almost like martial arts and
exactly
magic.
But just like summoning and all of that cool like Wiccan stuff.
Because that game is so your shit. The more you talk about other things you like, it all comes back to Ghostwire.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you something as well. I've actually nearly finished it for real this time.
Have you actually?
So close.
I have just got to get the last few collectibles, and then I'm going to do the final fight, and then I'm done.
Oh,
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. I've been picking away at it for literally 2.5 years because it's so good. But it's the only game of its type that I've ever wanted to 100%. And
that's
so
hell
wild.
yeah.
Yeah. I love shit like that. It's like just a little bit of like extremely high def digital tourism while I get to shoot ghosts and save other ghosts
in an empty city
with my magic hand powers in an empty city. It's been great. It's been such a gas. I'm going to miss it so much when it's gone.
You've played that in such a, and I mean this nicely, but in a normal way, like in a way that I think most people who've done what we've done as a job can't. Having that relationship with the game is so hard when you've worked in games media.
Yes.
But the amount of people I know who've like, I've been playing Breath of the Wild for 5 years. Like the fact that you've been able to just enjoy Ghostwire as it was intended and just, absorb it.
Everyone's got their
God,
one,
I wish
right?
that were
Everyone's
me.
got their open world that they are like, this is where I live. In terms of
100%.
open world. That's been my thesis for a while, is that everyone's got the open world that they love. Because the only other game of that sort of scope that I finished was LA Noire, but I very much ignored the side stuff in LA Noire. I played that more or less as a linear game. So that doesn't really count in the way I engage. And I don't think I've ever finished another open world game like that big of that sort of scope. I don't think I've ever finished one properly. But yeah, no. I just, something about just like being able to shoot ice out of your hands.
Well, there we go. It could be the monster's hands.
Yes.
Oh yeah, pop the hands on. Which, are we going for 2 different plasmids maybe from BioShock? Or?
Well, we should have electricity because that will help, then our monster can hopefully revive itself as needed.
Charge our PlayStation Portal.
Should we have fire and ice?
2-hour battery life.
Indeed.
Love fire and ice.
Fire and ice hands, because that's always
fire
the very
and ice is
good.
Brilliant.
Love
that.
Fire attacks are always the strongest, and then ice. Yeah.
It's cool as fuck.
Start electricity, let's do that.
Okay, we'll do fire and
Love
ice. Good.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Hexen, very quickly, I am so excited for Doom the Dark Ages, which is basically pulling the iconography of Heretic and Hexen into the modern Doom games.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Oh, that's so Liam coded. Pop a little skull and a gun and fire the fragments at demons. God, I'm such a 14-year-old boy.
Oh, dude, those are my...
My next bit is linked to you talking about open world games, because I was thinking the games that I've been gravitating towards this year in the AAA space. I've been playing a lot of Death Stranding. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4. Just the ludicrous scale that AAA games have is just unparalleled and makes sense as to why you need a budget that big to achieve something like that. But it's not just about the scale of the world either. And that is incredible. You know, Tears of the Kingdom last year was such a monumental experience for me because the amount of stuff in it, you couldn't take more than 5 steps without finding something new to do, in the way that the game let you interact with it. And it was just incredible. But also just the amount of stuff that the AAA industry can pump out. When I spoke to Zalavia the other week, Zalavia Nelson Jr., the interviewers in our feed, and he spoke about how you make a machine when you make games, has really made me think, change the way I think about this. But yeah, the AAA machine is able to create so much content and DLC and expansions and live service elements. You know, feasibly, you could buy one AAA game a year and be well fed for the entirety of your game playing experience.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think with scale, there comes like a sense of place. And this is literally just piggybacking on what you've said, Rebecca. This idea of a space that's yours, that you become so intimately familiar with, you almost live in it.
Yes.
And for me, that was the first open world game I ever truly fell in love with, to the degree where I did 100% it, every single corner, you know, explored, was Red Dead Redemption on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
That game was just like a second life for me for 3 or 4 months as I, you know, played it every single day. And the immersion that you're able to achieve with that scale, with that amount of content, is incredible. It genuinely is. Even if it, in the modern era, makes me feel a little bit icky. There was something about open world games from that era in particular that just felt incredible. But yeah, I don't know what the body part would be for this. A very large torso to
yeah, I think that works.
We're working our way down.
Yeah.
Maybe room for too many organs, if anything.
Yeah, there's too many. Enough more organs than that Frankenstein will ever need in its lifetime.
Yeah.
But they look so shiny, powered by the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Ooh, shiny nipples. Love that.
8K nipples.
Glistening abs.
Oh my goodness.
The
Disgusting.
particle effects.
Oh, V-Sync. Turn that shit off. Oh, motion blur, disgusting. I always turn all of that off. The first thing I do when I boot of a AAA, I go into the settings, V-Sync, off, blur, off. Yeah, particle, maybe not particle, but anything like just like, oh, no, just turn it off. I can't be doing with that. Right,
Yeah,
okay,
I've got to
so
turn motion blur off.
mine also relates, we're going around in a circle, to Liam's and yours, Rebecca, because I think mine's more open worldy. But
Okay.
I think the reason, so I like playing indie games because they're artistic, they challenge my point of view, they tell great stories. I think when I do play AAA, it's to be a little baby, and I like to be spoon-fed as a little baby.
Uh-huh.
And so
that's nice. That's good.
I actually love mini maps, and I love all the icons on a mini map telling me
yes.
exactly where I need to go, exactly what I need to do. Those Ubisoft like stupid little bars at the top, I love that fucking shit, because if I can't find something in 10 seconds, I'm not interested anymore. So like I love how AAA really does spoon feed you like very basic things to keep your attention. Like that's something that for me, if I wanted to play something a bit more artsy, I'd find it somewhere else. But like, oh my God, just like, playing like Red Dead or Horizon or The Witcher, and just being like, oh, I have all these like points on a map that I can go to, and I have a bunch of checklists and tick boxes and all these stupid fucking collectibles and whatever, but like I couldn't give a shit what they were, but it's just like nice to have it all laid out in a way in which I am a toddler and you are like teaching me how to play, and that never ends. Like, it's not a tutorial. I just, from beginning to end, I am being babysat, and I love that feeling.
I get it. Genuinely do get it. Yeah,
I know people hate it, but I fucking love it. I'm just
They're
like,
so
I want a
distracting.
seamless time.
Massive AAA games are so distracting, and like I 100% agree. You know, as I say,
God
as someone
damn.
who is like 98% of the way through Ghostwire, which is massive, I would walk down a street in that game and find 5 other things to distract me from whatever the hell I was trying to do, and just like, bring me back on mission. If you're gonna give me a massive game, hold my hand, like gently lead me down the haunted streets of Tokyo or wherever we happen to be, and for sure.
Totally right. It's almost numbing, but in a way that's, you need that sometimes. I remember when Assassin's Creed Origins came out, I had, this is not a very funny bit, but I'll probably make it work. I had like a huge depressive episode and I was off work for like 3 weeks, and all I did was play Assassin's Creed Origins, and like in that frame of mind, being able to just hoover up all those map icons, that's where AAA does shine. Is just, would you like your slop today? Yes, I'd like my slop today. Open wide for the slop. Yummy. Like, it is satisfying sometimes.
I feel
some
like
of the
it's
first
like
Spider-Man game as well.
Crumbs on a floor, and I'm like scuttling on the floor, like picking up these crumbs and like putting them in my mouth to get something whole. Like 200 bits of one burger, and I'm just like,
yes.
Yeah.
oh my God. And and this is as well. I don't want the map icons to disappear when I complete them. I want them to be faded so I can see what I've done.
So
If they
progress.
disappear, no, thank you. I need them just to be a little bit faded so I can be like, look at everything I've done.
Yeah.
This looks fucking amazing.
The best part.
All these little crumbs that I've hoovered up. It's my
Absolutely.
big gob. Yeah. No, So that's something I really like. I just want to be, I want to be babysat.
Sometimes you don't want to be challenged, right? And that is that sounds like such a read, but I'm with you. I do get so much from that.
100%.
100%. And like, that is, to me, I have a lot of strong opinions with basically boil down to like, let people enjoy games how they want to enjoy games, and like, no shade. Like, you know, I am a committed lover of easy mode. If you want to play on easy mode, like whatever accessibility
100%.
and like
Amen.
modding features you want to put on, do that. And you know, it's because of that. It's because like, people, you know, a lot of people like to play games to be challenged. I'm not one of those people. So like, you know, I like the opportunity to have this experience in the way that I would choose it, which is not incredibly frustrated after I've probably already had a very frustrating day. So yeah, definitely. I think that's
all right. So I think these would be the legs, because there's a lot of leg work
this thing
involved.
needs some legs. Yeah, that's
so
so
we'll
good.
put the legs on.
Nice.
That is so good.
Click, click. There you go.
Do we then pull a nappy over the legs because we like the baby mode of
baby.
AAA?
Yeah,
open
we'll
world
put a
games?
little nappy in a bottle and all that bullshit. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that? Was it First Steps that developers, Baby Steps?
Oh, yeah,
We're like,
yeah.
Oh,
creating
yes.
We are making that person.
We are.
We are.
But those are my two. I don't have another one. Do you two have others?
I don't
I
have
have
anything that
one
I'm
more.
super attached to.
Mhm.
Yeah, you go, Liam. You bring this home.
Making a game that can generate as much money as a AAA can sometimes lead to the type of wild experimentation that make me love indie games so much. And this is rare, but when it happens, it's a thing of actual beauty. So I just think the fact that Sony let Kojima make Death Stranding is like very much talking about, you know, unrestrained hubris let loose upon the planet. But the fact that he said, I'm going to make a game where you play as a Deliveroo guy, but you're in Norway and it's going to look like the best thing you've ever seen. And also there's like a bunch of like baby ghosts. And Sony were like, sure, go for it. That's quite rare.
Yeah.
And the people that do this the most, I think, are Nintendo. I think the way that Nintendo will take their biggest mascots and just say, right, how can we sort of like break this formula in a way that's recognizable but completely different every time? And that's how you end up with things like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, which I maybe have said this on the podcast. I do think that is probably, that and Obra Dinn are the best games ever made for me. I just think Mario Odyssey is pure joy distilled.
Absolutely.
Valve did this with Half-Life Alyx as well. Valve going, let's revive this series and make the best VR game you've ever played in your life. I just think it's amazing. So this is rare, but I do think if there's one thing AAA can do sometimes, and it's getting rarer and rarer, unfortunately, is this idea of let's take a bold swing with all of this financial backing behind us and let's just see what we can do. And yeah, most of the time it works. Sometimes you get a Cyberpunk, but even then, having the Witcher money to spend 2 years or 3 years fixing that is also kind of wild. Yeah. It's ludicrous, but it's magic when it works. And the fact that we have things like Tears of the Kingdom and Death Stranding out there is brilliant.
Yeah, the money is a big, just hurling money at things.
Yeah. It's gross, but it also it works out in the end sometimes. I will stuff the pockets of our Frankenstein with dollars, just $100 bills. Wherever there's a crease, in goes a dollar.
Oh dear.
Wow, this is a certain creation we've made.
It certainly is. I think
what a cutie. A disgusting cutie.
A disgusting stitched together, except now it's Lego, so it's clipped together.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are other little things we could bolt on, but I actually think that's a really perfect place to leave it. So I think before we throw the switch though.
I'll scuttle in the corner, hunched over.
We need to put in a little bit of a safety net for this. Because this, like, I don't know, this is the most, obviously, the whole point is that this is the most AAA focused episode that we've ever done. We have really just talked about AAAs. I don't know how our listeners are going to feel about this. They might think that it's a nice way to refresh the format every little while. Maybe they'll want us to do it again next Halloween. Or maybe they'll be like, never do this again, please. So what I would like us to do,
They better not.
I would like us to craft a potion that can be used to rein in our creation. Should we just need to absolutely shut this down, banish it from whence it came?
Self-destruct.
This is where I said I just wanted to do like a very quick goof because it's not fair to bill ourselves as an indie podcast and then not talk about indies at all. So which is why I asked you earlier today to think of a few of the most cursed items that you could conceive of from indie games, because we're gonna mix up in that cauldron in the corner I mentioned earlier. We're gonna mix up a potion that we can use to either grant life or grant eternal slumber to our creation, depending on how our listeners feel at the end of all this madness.
No, we can't kill them.
My child.
Oh, baby.
For some reason, I've also started picturing it as like, because one other thing that is not exclusive to AAAs, but is definitely more prevalent in AAAs, is loads of merch, right? I'm just looking around my room now and seeing all of the merch, and like 80% of it is from AAA. And I can't help but see it as like a big teddy bear now. So I'm quite emotionally
our disgusting child.
Big disgusting teddy bear. I love it. Love it.
Wait, have we built Big John the baby? Is this what we've created?
Oh my God! It's
a
time traveling origin story for Big John the baby.
Oh my God, the diaper and everything. We just walked right into that one.
We did.
We really did.
It happened
I'm very
so
proud that I've made that link.
It's what's happening. But
Right, so the potion.
We're gonna make a potion just because I thought it'd be really funny to talk about cursed indie game items that might, might be used to completely defang a AAA monster if you really needed to like lob it in a pinch. Save yourself.
Incredible.
I like this a lot.
So
who wants to, are we going to make our own potions and then should we just like rattle off all of our items?
I think we just chuck it all in the cauldron and see what happens.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. The first thing I hoy in is a blood crystal from Paradise Killer, because those things are fucked.
Oh,
and they concern me. Currency is blood. Sure.
Sure thing. I contribute. We know that unless it's Dredge, I think that fishing in games is cursed generally anyway. And Dredge only gets away with it because it's extra cursed and it kind of loops back around. And you know what? I'm going to get that fucking fishing rod you get given in every game. I'm going to reel in a sea bass because it's always a fucking sea bass. And that sea bass is going in.
It is always a sea bass.
It's always a sea bass, yeah. Nice, I like it.
I will chuck in the horrific necktie from Disco Elysium, the one that speaks to you and whispers horrific things into your brain. So that's going in. Get out of here.
Just like imagine the steam and the hiss coming off of this concoction.
Yeah.
It screams. The necktie screams as we chuck it in.
Yeah.
I also have so there's a game called Wobble Dogs where you look after and breed a pack of dogs who are very cartoony. But this game is very fucked up and super cursed. And when the dogs die, they explode and their body parts all like kind of their body parts all like kind of sprinkle out all over the playpen you've been looking after them in. And the other dogs eat their body parts. So I will
what?
And you can mutate the dogs with other dogs' body parts and bodies. So I will chuck in a Wobble Dog's body of amalgamated body parts. There you go. In it goes.
That's a good one.
That game is so fucked.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most cursed games I've ever played. But
I've never played it. I've
it's
heard
really
of it, but
cool.
that sounds. Yeah, I'm kind of into it now that I know that they explode and they eat each other.
Yeah, and when they pupate, so you have your little dog and they pupate, and when they do that, they like a cocoon, they like shoot up, or like a spider, they shoot up some web, and then they cocoon themselves onto the ceiling, and then after a day, the cocoon bursts open and liquid pours out of it, and the dog slaps onto the floor in its new form. That game is fucked. And they eat each other's poo. And you can like breed them and again like mutate them to have like different. It's like a genetic slicey game. It's really cute though. Like these dogs aren't like they're like really, really cartoony. Like I just want to get this out. They're super cartoony dogs.
Yeah,
but yeah, when they die, they go, oh, and they explode and all their little bits go everywhere. Yeah, it's really And then the other dogs eat the bits.
I'd heard of Wobble Dog. I did not know that this is what this was about.
Wobble Dogs is great. Super cute, super cursed. Fucked up.
That is extremely cursed.
I'll chuck a Wobble Dog in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In it goes.
Play that in. I love that.
Goes. I think I will also contribute Wandering Bew from Strange Horticulture. Not because
which one's that?
It's the one that every morning in the game it has walked a little way along your shelf and disorganized your beloved alphabetized section, like, you know, because when I played Strange Horticulture, I was like, I had it all, it was alphabetical and then like sorted by section. So there was a poison section and then everything else was alphabetical.
Fuck yeah.
And every morning, Wandering Bew, all it had to do, it's a W, so all it had to do was stay near the end. But every day, the first thing I had to do was rearrange the entire shop.
And a morning walk.
Yeah, because of Wandering Bew. And like, you know what? It's not a bad plan. It does its best, but I think that if you wanted to just have, you know, the curse of mild annoyance,
yes,
Wandering Bew would be what you'd have to put in.
In it goes.
That's good. I'll throw a few quick ones in here. Quartz from Stardew Valley, because Abigail eats it, and that always unsettles me quite a lot.
Yeah, she does. Crunch. Oh, she's perfect for you.
She's perfect for me. Yeah, I've never thought about that. I snatch the quartz away. I'll give it to my future wife. Sorry, Haley. I throw Haley in the cauldron.
Oh, yeah. Haley could go in the fucking cauldron. Haley.
Goth Haley can brew it.
Yes. She sachets in and starts like stirring it.
Yes.
Thank you, other wife. I've got Against the Storm on the brain at the moment because we mentioned it last episode, which was like 4 days ago when we recorded that.
Oh, yeah.
There's one of the main food sources in Against the Storm is just this giant wobbly leech monster, and you cut meat off it. So I put some leech meat in because that's just grim. And I also throw in a sentient pizza from Pizza Tower.
Oh my
God. It screams as it goes in. And finally, I put in a kiss from Lucas Pope to fully bless the indiness of our concoction.
Yes.
Oh, that is
seal
lovely.
it with a kiss.
Absolutely.
Incredible work. Oh God, it's bubbling. Oh my God.
It's sending Big John back in time.
What a perfect end to a terrible day.
Oh, well done, gang. We made something monstrous. Let's never speak of it again.
Yay!
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun with my incredibly silly Halloween idea.
Yeah,
Yay!
great.
You guys did
Love
too.
it. That intro. I'm still not over that
Oh,
intro.
so good.
So fucking funny.
obviously, there's still plenty more to go, but I feel like the Halloween theming is more or less put to bed for this one, because we've got a couple more sections. We've got our what we've been playing section up next.
Yes. I'll go.
Go. You Rachel?
Yep.
So
you sound so sure of yourself.
I'll go. So I've been playing a bunch of the Steam Next Fest demos. It's currently Next Fest. It won't be when this comes out, but
Next Fest will be a distant memory when this episode comes out. But
and I've played this demo before, and this, as part of Next Fest, they released a longer version, and that is Great God Grove by Limbo Lane. I loved Smile for Me by them. I picked up Smile for Me. I was browsing Steam. I saw the game's trailer. It had a creepy puppet in it, and I went, I'm going to play that game because I fucking love puppets. And it was such a weird, wonderful, I played it in one sitting. It's just this really creepy point-and-click puzzle adventure. So this is the developer's second game, in which you play as a delivery person who is on this weird island where there's loads of gods, but they're all squabbling at the moment. I guess the idea is that every couple years, all the gods get together and they stop an apocalypse from happening. But this year or this season, they're all fallen out. One of them has gone a bit rogue, and so all the others are kind of upset about that. So you, playing as a delivery person, are delivering messages back and forth, talking to the island's characters. But the really cool mechanic of this game is that you have an ability that lets you have this gun with a massive mouth that lets you suck in characters' dialogue, and then you can fire that dialogue at other characters.
Oh, interesting.
So you're playing with words, you're playing with sentence structures. So whenever someone, if someone's like, oh, they don't love me, they don't like me, how do I know if they like me? You can go to that other person, they can say, they have nice hair. You can take that dialogue, go back to the original person and be like, they do like you. And it's their own voice. That's the implication, is that their own voice saying it. And they're like, oh, yay, cool. So this game, that mechanic alone is just really interesting. I really like that. But the vibe of this game is so cool. The art style is very cartoony, but it's quite creepy or a bit off in the way. It's very early Cartoon Network. Everything looks a bit scratchy, an itchy jumper. The colors are very muted. It looks rusty, lots of oranges, lots of yellows. The characters are very XD lol, so random, but not in a way that's cringe, in a way that's kind of funny and a bit endearing. Okay. And yeah, the gods are great. I love games with gods who are either squabbling or being a bit cringy. Or we're talking about Hades, talking about Paradise Killer. So the gods in this game are very similar. They're very humanized. And yeah, I've just had a great time with this demo. I've got an extended preview I'm going to be playing. This game comes out November 15th, so it won't be long after this episode's released. I am so excited for this game. I think this probably will be in my top 5 potentially. I'm really in love with it. So yeah, I've been really enjoying Great God Grove, which out soon. Check it out.
Awesome.
Hopefully the demo's still up. But yeah, so I've been playing that. Really enjoying it.
Very, very nice.
That is such a good rec.
I've not heard of that one before, but it sounds
right?
Yeah.
I feel like they're a studio which... So Smile for Me, I had never heard of. I found it on a whim. And so I only knew of this game because I bought Smile for Me on Steam. And so Steam gives you pop-ups when new games are released or announcements are made. So, but yeah, that's really only how I know of this game. And even then, I don't really see people talking about Smile for Me or this game a lot. I know this, again, this is another reason. Fellow Traveller are publishing Great God Grove, and you know how much I fucking love Fellow Traveller, and I'll play any game they publish. So I think I was always going to play this game, but it's just, it's so... The tone is nothing I've played before. It's so wacky and wild, so yeah.
Well, damn, it's gone on the wish list. This looks amazing.
Fuck yeah. Hopefully it'll be a nice, sweet 4, 5, 6 hours. I'm hoping it won't be any more than that. Oh, that would be perfection.
The first screenshot on Steam has this character saying, I'm ham hot for a handsome god, which, all right, you know what? I respect that a lot. I respect
the dialogue is so funny, but that's what I mean. It's kind of like a bit XD, also random, but like not so much that it's cringe. Oh, absolutely, so good.
No, the art style is like very endearing as well. Having looked at it, it's got like,
it's so nice. Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Do you want to go, Liam?
Yeah, I will. I'll put the little poo in between this sandwich of cool things you're recommending.
You don't know what I'm going to say yet.
Well, I know for a fact it's going to be better than what I'm about to talk about, Rebecca.
Oh,
wow.
Really?
So we've been recording these episodes quite close together before I go on holiday because my two co-hosts are lovely and have been very accommodating for that. So I've been trying to play as many big indies that people have been recommending or that I've wanted to try and hit before the end of the year. I have started playing Tactical Breach Wizards, and I've played 2.5 hours of it, and I think it's brilliant. I think that's a wonderful game, but I want to play more of it before I talk about it. So watch this space. I'll be back next episode to talk about that. In the meantime, Friends Fear, he's been playing a simulator again because I noticed about 2 weeks ago that a game called TCG Card Shop Simulator popped up on Steam.
Yes.
Oh, did you? Oh, God, okay. Oh, he's become predictable. TCG Card Shop Simulator.
When she said another simulator, I remembered you bringing this up a week or two ago, and I was like,
oh,
it's going to be the card shop. I'm going to be honest, right? When you said Card Shop Simulator in the chat, I was thinking of a very different. I was thinking like a Clinton's. So this is like my brain is slightly
like a card factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Rebecca, let's not even pretend I would play Card Factory.
I know
Simulator.
you would.
So this. People might remember, but if you don't, I spoke about a game over the summer called Supermarket Simulator that I said was very clearly using some kind of asset pack bought from the Unity store that lets you place objects onto shelves and check out goods to customers in your shop. Someone has bought that asset pack again. It's literally the same one that's used in Supermarket Simulator, but they've applied it to a collectible card game shop. And honestly, this hits. I'm really enjoying this, even though it's largely as middling as Supermarket Simulator was. The twist with this one is that you're selling a fake Pokemon card game called Tetramon. So you're putting like individual packs of cards on your shelves, but then you can open up the packs and get cards out of them. So you get that thrill of opening up card packs and seeing what cards are inside them. Yeah.
Oh,
and
no.
You can then sell those cards if they're rare in your shop for more money. So it has like a really fun twist on the loop that Supermarket Simulator had. And you can also place tables down in your shop so people can play the card game in your shop, like in real life. It also has a very, very funny mechanic, which is so...
I can see it in the
crappy. You can already see it. It's not, I mean, it's silly, but I do find it quite funny, is that most of the people who come in your shop smell and have visible stink lines coming off them.
I knew that was going to be it.
And you have to spray them down with like Febreze.
I hate that. That was so already on my mind.
Yeah,
I can smell it.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's so mean to say that, but like, I just remember when I was at uni, I lived really near our local comic book / tabletop gaming shop. Yeah. And yeah, it does have that vibe of like, it's a really nice space to be, but you can kind of smell this shop, right? And
so it's my God.
100%. And I do need to like say as well, I am a member of this community.
Oh, absolutely.
I am also a stinky. Like, I'm a big Magic the Gathering guy now, but this is really good. Yeah. It's really fun. You're filling your shop with cards, with packs of cards, with plushies of the Pokemon. They've just they've just done a collaboration with a board game company. So now you can buy actual board games to put in your shop. And they've said they've got loads more collaborations coming.
Oh, that's
They're
fun.
adding another card game at some point, which I'm hoping is a Magic ripoff because that would be very funny.
Yeah,
that would
awesome.
be so funny.
That would be really good.
I want to do board games. Oh,
the board games are fun, but the roadmap also has stuff like this might be ambitious, we might never see this, but they want to add a working version of Tetramon into the game so you can play against your patrons as well.
Actually, though, wouldn't
yeah, because you're also making your
dominance
collection
as the storekeeper.
Yeah,
by winning at Tetramon.
So this is The reason I wanted to play it is I'm a sicko for simulators, and I just need to accept that about myself. But also, this has been in Steam's new and trending list for weeks, like maybe close to a month now. It's gotten overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. Thousands and thousands of people are playing it every day. It's one of those games that we talk about sometimes, and I re-listened to our success episode after we spoke about it the other day, and we did mention this, these kind of games that slip under the critical radar, but are clearly huge successes for their developers. And yeah, they've bought an asset pack, but then they have used that as a foundation to do cool things on top of it, and it's good. It looks a bit cheap. It's a bit jank. It's a tenner. And I've played like 3 hours and they've just disappeared. It's good fun. It's good fun.
40,000 people in game right now.
Really?
39,940.
Why make Concord when you could make TCG Card Shop Simulator?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Is wild. Oh my God, you're right. That's insane. How many people are playing Supermarket Simulator right now?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good question.
Maybe everyone migrated.
No, that has 10,000 people. Yeah, everyone's on. Then, 10,000 people are playing
10,000 Supermarket Simulator is still pretty high.
That's wild.
That's not a shit sandwich. Tasty sandwich.
A little Pokemon card in between 2 slices of indie bread.
Ooh.
Oh,
Rebecca,
man.
what have you been playing?
I just want to clarify an earlier statement. I am part of the group that was every Saturday morning in the local comic book shop. But I just want to clarify, I'm very well groomed, except for when I'm being a sweaty cosplay girl at a con. Then I'm part of the problem. Anyway.
I feel like we've all had our moments. For me, it was at uni. I was at Magic the Gathering competitions in a very small card shop, which we all had like shuffled into. And I don't even think anyone was that smelly, but having that many people in a small space.
Absolutely. It's no shade on anyone's personal hygiene. It's just there's like 50 people in this room that could comfortably hold 7.
Yeah, I wish there was a store person going around just hosing people with Febreze.
So funny.
Like when you're in the mosh pit at a concert and they're just throwing some water on occasionally. It's just like hydrate, stay alive, everybody. Stay alive.
Right, yeah, Rebecca, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, also a couple of things from Steam Next Fest before I get into what I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, so I won't linger too much on it. But Nirikabe World, which was one of my absolute like top showings from Indie Cup Europe this summer, didn't make it onto the shortlist, but it is being exhibited in Steam Next Fest. I think it probably is still going to have its demo up afterwards, so hopefully this is still a relevant recommendation. It's a very short demo. It's only a half-hour demo, but I loved it so much I played it twice, even though it was the exact same puzzles twice. I'm very, very into this game. 100%. It's not got a release date yet, but when it does come out, it's this very nice like pen and paper puzzle game that's been. I said that so well off the cuff. I bet I could do that again.
That was so pleasing. Can you say it again?
Pen and paper puzzle game that's been like put into. It's been put on PC again. We're talking about gorgeous landscapes earlier. You get them in miniature. I've literally wrote a thing for work for VG247 this week, which is just rhapsodizing over how gorgeous these landscapes look. Perfectly at home with like this little PC upgrade. It's so nice. Definitely gonna be hooked on this when it comes out. Just go play it. I won't. There's no need for more context. It's just a nice puzzle game that you should definitely play.
This is so funny. I forgot you played this because we on Thinky Games just released a Next Fest demo list, and Joe, my boss, picked this game to be on it, and I totally forgot this was like your thing you were into.
Oh god, it looks so nice, and it sounds
the puzzle fans approve.
The sound design as well is great, which obviously you didn't really get from the stills and stuff that we saw at Next Fest.
Yes,
so that's a really lovely experience. As I say, there's only about maybe like 25 quite simple puzzles in the demo, but it was just nice to play it and then go away and forget them for a couple of days, then play it again. Really good time with that. And the other thing that I've been playing, as Liam has sort of hinted at, in the attempt to build the illusion that we are recording these at our usual pace and not like 3-4 days apart, was I decided to dip in a bit to Cryptmaster, which is a game that has been so heavily on my radar as like a potential sort of like game of the year candidate for me, but I had really only just like. And to be honest, I've still only just picked away at it. I've only got a little bit further than what I saw streamed when it released earlier this year. But just generally, that's a great time. Like it's maybe, having now played a couple of hours of it, I'm kind of into the meat of the game. And the major criticism I've seen kind of leveled against it is that it's like, once you're kind of into the rhythm of it, it's a bit long for what it is, which is that it's like a sort of like 14 to 16 hour game that maybe could have done with a little bit of tidying up. But I am still just like, I love the characters. I think the character work and the art style is so great. The central concept of like, this essentially like
so good
typing to regain your voice and your spells and all of this. So the idea of this game is it's a party-based sort of RPG. You play as all 4 simultaneously members of this party, who were these great adventurers who battled this ancient evil and did defeat it, but I think were either killed in the battle or died sometime later. But they were buried, and now they've been resurrected by this mysterious crypt master who wants someone to escort him out of essentially the underworld, the afterlife, and back into the real world to cause goodness knows. It's probably nothing good. Probably not going to be good for anyone.
Fine.
When he gets up
good.
there. But he's like very charismatic and very funny, so we forgive a lot. But despite the fact that these are quite very blank like character, the Crypt Master is the sort of like suave narrator voice that follows you through these games. But I actually really like the party as well. I think that what little you get of who they are, and because they are basically like zombies, right? And it's got this simultaneous like hilarity and tragedy of these 4 people who were once like very competent and capable. But you never see them like that. You see them as like these sort of shambling, rotting corpses that just occasionally one of them, if you idle too long, will just let out a sort of confused and sad moan. But it's somehow it's funny, but it's tragic at the same time. And like what little you glean of those characters, because they're all very archetypal, is, you know, you've got like the rogue and the warrior and the bard and the mage, I think, are the 4. So it's obviously very like, as someone who was and is obsessed with Baldur's Gate 3, it's like feeding that same addiction, but with a typing game, which I also really love. And I have to play more of it. I think that probably, although I started playing it on my own, friend of the podcast, Mick, came in while I was playing and was like very entranced by it. And I do think that it's probably a good game, even though it's single player, to co-play, just because like it's got that kind of humor, and it's got a lot of like puzzles in it as well, that I was there like, you can unlock a lot better spells and stuff by solving these riddles. And I was like, I'm not going to turn on assist mode for the riddles. I'm good at riddles. Oh, I'm not good at these riddles. Let me tell you, I've got no fucking clue whatsoever. So I think like, I was like, yeah, let's play it together. And I'll go around and like jab and hit and murder, which is a spell that I've just unlocked, which is fantastic. I'll go around and like do this. And if we can just both be thinking about like what the hell this riddle means so that we can get a massive power boost. It's just generally like, it's got a nice feel to it if you are a fan of like that sort of like D&D classic RPG style party gameplay. And I like as well, I'm currently like stumbling around in the boneyard, which is where all of the rat guards with Australian accents hang out and are very charming and lovely.
With the swirly eyes. They're so good.
They're like, I really like them. I'm so glad they're not enemies, and you just wander around and they like say hi to you and stuff, and you have little chats about the kids and things. It's really nice. I'm enjoying it a lot. As I said, because like at the moment I'm, as Liam is as well, trying to get as many like Game of the Year indie candidates onto my plate as possible, which is why I kind of grabbed this for a few hours between recordings just to have something else to talk about and to kind of have it in the mix. And yeah, I'm really glad that I did, because it's a lot of fun.
I'm glad you like it. I agree with what you've said about it maybe being a little bit too long. I played about 6 hours of it and then just went, yeah, I'm done. I've had my fill of this. I really like what I've played of it, but the combat wore me down a little bit the more the game went on.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think in my head I wanted it to be more like the Typing of the Dead, where it just put words underneath enemies and then you just had to type as fast as possible.
Oh, yes, I see what you're
when
saying.
It started to add in, you know, you can't use words with these letters in them, otherwise you get blocked. It just became a little bit too fiddly for me. But everything you've said I completely agree with. I think it's one of the smartest and most inventive games I've played this year. I just have my fill after a certain amount of time.
I can imagine that I might end up in the same place with it, which is a shame, because like I do actually care about these characters already, and I'm like quite invested in there. I feel like it's one that maybe because because of the fact that the characters are quite simple and the concept is not hugely like, there are clever puzzles and it's a clever gameplay loop, but you're not having to pay a lot of attention to the story. I can sort of see it being one that you come back to every few months for like a couple of years to finish potentially, and just have,
Yeah, to be fair,
that kind of relationship with it. Because like that's the thing, is like I wouldn't want to play. Probably it's not one that lends itself to long gameplay sessions, because you do sort of get to the point where you're like, okay, I think I've seen what this offers in terms of gameplay, and I've been doing it for 90 minutes or whatever, and that's probably enough for today. Really enjoying all the creative ways of desecrating the altars, though. That's fun.
Yes. What have you tried so far?
So far, I fornicated on an altar because I just wanted to see how big a word it would let me do.
Wow.
Nice. Okay.
She didn't like that. And then I thought, what if I just give her a chaste little kiss? And apparently that is desecration enough when she's a holy altar and I'm a shambling zombie. So
that's funny. Oh, a little kiss is so sincere and small. I love that you tried that.
She's as angry as if you would like just absolutely. You could have bodily fluids everywhere, and she would not be more angry than if you just were like.
Oh, little smooch.
Yeah.
Smooch. Wants to be angry about that.
Yeah, he comments on it as well. He comments on how it's like very like modest as a means of desecration, the Crypt Keeper. Oh man, I love as well like his little comments when you just type something random. Because like one of the reasons I was thinking about fishing mini games is because there clearly is one. I haven't found the fishing rod yet, but you can like see the fish swimming around that I highlighted. And so I was stood there just like looking at it in the water, going like typing fish in to see if I could just grab it or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, you can see a fish, can you? Good for you, I suppose." And I was like, I love this guy. I love it. Getting a little bit of a crush on the Crypt Keeper potentially. Is that sort of
yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I've been up to.
Nice little bundle.
We are coming in way under.
I literally was going to say, we're doing so well. Let's not pat ourselves on the back too yet, because, oh God.
40 minutes hyperfixation.
45 solid minutes on hyperfixation.
Can I go first? Because mine's a little bit of a downer. Since it's only been 4 days since our last episode or whatever, I don't have a new one. But I would like to talk a little bit about the end of Play magazine, a magazine that I used to work for that is now just not, it's come to an end. They are not publishing anymore. And yeah, I've just been rereading old copies and looking at all the work I did for them, and just like I chatted with Oscar, the editor, ex-editor, for a mini-sode of Indieventure, which should be out soon, hopefully, if I can get around to editing it. So yeah, I've just been really ruminating on that, and just like, it's nice, but also this industry is not doing great right now, and Play was just one of the many places that shut down. And so yeah, I just want to put a little pin here, a little goodbye to Play magazine, somewhere that not only covered really big PlayStation games, but there was always championing indie games. Like if any of our listeners bought Play, they would know that there was always a bunch of indie games in there. And it's in our industry as well, like Play was also known, and particularly Oscar, as hiring kind of like new voices in the industry. Yeah. And I'm going to miss that so much. Just reading like people, like young writers getting their first opportunity in Play, but also like different voices and diverse voices. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really going to miss it. And it's just such a shame that parent company Future decided to shut it. But yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad about that. It's just a rough time for magazines and for outlets at the moment. So yeah. Pour one out for Play magazine. We'll miss you.
Support your favorite outlets is what I'll say. If you can, if you have the means to do so, pay for journalism. I do genuinely think that's the only way these things can survive. What I'd love to ask you, Rachel, is what's your favorite memory of your time working at Play?
Oh my God. There's quite a few, because it was when we were all in the office. Wow, a time when we actually went to the office. I know. So it was like post-pandemic. I think we were just returning to the office. And so just being First of all, just writing for like physical media is just so nice. Like getting into the office and like seeing a big box of like the magazine and just like opening it up and like being like, oh, it smells great. It just feels good. And also just nagging Oscar with all these like indie game previews that, it was quite funny because for PlayStation, a lot of indie games come to PlayStation a bit later than PC. So at that point, I basically had played a lot of like the games when they'd come to PlayStation. So for me, it was just a really nice job, as in like my deadlines, I'd played casually the games anyway, so I could just write them up whenever. It was only really with like deadlines that I got a bit hectic. But even then, Oscar was really great at like organizing the team and making sure none of us were like stressed or overworked. And honestly, I've worked at a lot of places and Play was like the best place I've ever worked. Oscar is the best boss I've ever had. That team, Jess, Mim and Milf, are just like the best people I've ever worked with, minus some lovely folks at RPS. But yeah, I just really liked working there. And magazines are, I mean, to be honest, brutal. I knew I couldn't stay there for long because I was like, the magazines are just not going to last. So I moved on to RPS. But yeah, it just still sucks. And yeah, going to miss it. Because Liam, you did a piece for Play. I remember you saying, and then I had the copy, and I saw your little face.
I wish I could remember the issue, but there is an issue of Play magazine where Oscar, I reached out, I was at Push Square at the time, and a person I used to work with called Aaron Potter, and he said, you should reach out to Oscar, like he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Just say, can I write something for the magazine? I reached out, he said yes. So there is an issue of Play magazine that has words by Rachel Watts and me. Both of our pictures are like 3 pages apart from each other in this early issue of Play. And when, I've maybe told you this story, but when you joined RPS, we had no idea who was going to be reviews editor until the Monday meeting where you joined. And
which is
Hayden
wild,
and I were chatting.
By the way.
That is wild, yeah. Hayden and I were chatting that morning and they said, I wonder who the reviews editor is going to be. And I'd seen you tweet that morning saying that you were starting a new job. And I was like, I think it might be Rachel Watts who wrote for Play. And I've been reading your words for a while by that point. I was like, God. If it's Rachel Watts, that's going to be cool as shit. And then you joined the call.
And
I was like, oh my God, it's Rachel Watts from Play Magazine. That's so cool.
Hi, guys. I like The Last of Us. Cringe. I regret that all the time. I literally, one of the questions in the first meeting we had was like, what games have you been playing? I had just come off of playing back-to-back The Last of Us 1 and 2, and I was so hot into The Last of Us. I was like, this game is the fucking best thing I've ever played. Obviously cooled off in it now. But I remember on the call, RPS being this indie website, me being known relatively as an indie game person and being like, I've just really liked The Last of Us 1 and 2. It's so funny.
That was definitely not how you came across at all.
No, not at all.
I'm sure it's not, but I just always remember being like, shit, you could have said any indie game, and I was just like, it's a good memory for me. It's so funny.
That is funny. I mean, I can't remember that. Clearly you can't either, Rebecca, so I didn't leave her.
I mainly just remember being like, yes, we've hired another woman. Like, that's always just like,
fair. Yeah.
Rachel, you'll get this too. Just like whenever you come onto a team or someone joins the team, and it's like, I mean, that's basically, we just immediately bonded because it was like, obviously RPS at the time was like actually quite a lot of women on staff, but we were just there like, hello. It's like,
yes, woman.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, to bring it back to Play, oh God, pull one out, like I said.
It's such a shame. Like the amount of game magazines out there is so few and far between anyway. Like one that you can walk in a shop and pick up off a shelf. To lose Play, which was so good, was such a champion for so many things, like you say. Such a shame.
Who wants to go next? I'm glad I didn't finish because that would have been a note I didn't want to finish on.
I think Liam should go next.
All right.
Yes, knowing what your hyperfixation is, I think we should end on it.
Oh yes.
Leave the energy for the end. So
Indeed.
My hyperfixation is UFO 50, which I mentioned on the podcast last week.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I am still working my way through UFO 50, and for my hyperfixation, I want to talk about a game that I started playing yesterday that I have now played for multiple hours. I can't stop playing this game. It's so fucking good. There's a game So if you don't know, UFO 50, it's a collection of 50 games that are developed under the constraints of games developed in the 1980s. Last week I spoke about it. At that point, I played about 12 games. Now I've played about 16. I started a game yesterday called Party House. This one's developed by John Perry, who's a long-time collaborator with Derek Yu. Party House is a game about trying to throw a cool party where aliens arrive. Well, the first scenario is you've got to try and get 4 aliens in your party.
Okay.
And it's very fun. You've got like people who come in who are troublemakers and they're drinking, and some people who are cool, and rich people who give you money. But what it is, it's a deck builder.
Oh my God.
Okay.
It's so fucking smart, right? So each scenario has a goal. So the first one is get 4 aliens into your party and you win the scenario. And you've got 25 days to do this. And every day you throw a party. And you've got your little house and you open the door and someone enters your party. And the people who enter your party have different characteristics.
Okay.
They all give you a resource of some kind. Well, they either give you a resource or they provide a function. So some of them will give you popularity, and popularity is a currency you can use to add more people to your Rolodex, which effectively adds the cards into your deck, which can be drawn from the door in your party. Or they can give you money, which you can use to upgrade your house, which adds an extra tile so you can get more people in your house. It starts off with like 5 people. You can get it all the way up to a lot of people. And you need popularity to recruit or to add the aliens, let's say in the case of this first scenario, to your Rolodex.
Mm-hmm.
And the other types of functions you can get are a taxi driver who can call anyone from your Rolodex and add them into the party. And there's like fail states where if too many rowdy people come in your party, the police turn up and you don't get any resources for that night.
Ooh.
Or if more people come to the party than you have space for, the fire marshal shuts it down. So you've got to try and balance all this, and you do end up sort of playing it like a deck builder. So you start to think like, okay, I'm going to get the dog because the dog can see who's at the door before you let them in. So if the party's too rowdy, you can end your night and get the resources before it gets cancelled. Or the security guard can kick someone out so you've got more room, or kick themselves out so that they're not, they don't give you a resource. And I've yet to finish this first scenario. I got up to 3 aliens this morning. I was late for work this morning because I was trying to get aliens in my party. But
this sounds amazing. This sounds so smart, like you said.
Right?
What?
But it's just like I was saying last week. UFO 50 has so many smart games that could be full games. Like this could be.
I need to play this. I need to play it.
Wow. Yeah.
You do need to play this. There's like 6 pre-built scenarios where I think you need to get like, I've only just glanced at them because I'm still trying to do this first one, but you can play them in any order, but you might need to get unicorns in, and there's different people to recruit in your Rolodex, and there's like a scenario, like a custom scenario, so it just like puts random people in random win states. It's wild how good Party House is. It's maybe my favorite game in the collection at the moment, but it's like, I'd say there's maybe 5 games in here that are up there with some of my favorites of the year, which is wild to say.
Oh my God.
But games that I'm just like, these are incredible. Yeah, UFO 50. I know I was like saying last week I started a little bit cool in it, but I was warming. The more I get through it, maybe like, 16, 17 games in now, whatever.
Wow.
I'm just so in love with this game. It's so good.
God damn it. I need to play.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it sounds
So
really
good.
fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Man. What a year it's been.
I feel like this year, the games that I thought, so like no shade, but like Plucky Squire, Pacific Drive, all these games that I was like, these are my games of the year, have been great, but there have been some other ones that have really blown everything else out of the water that I didn't know were gonna even release this year. Like last year was quite predictable, not predictable, as in like, okay, this game's gonna do great, this game's gonna do great, and they did. But this year for indies, it's very much like this random like game that took 7 years to make with 50 fucking games in it is like potentially up there. Mouthwashing, the horror game, potentially up there. Right. It's really interesting. We're gonna have some really good end of year discussions. I'm so excited.
Be so
really
interesting. I think like it's been a year of games that like require a bit more investment than the 2023 games, which were just immediately like in your face with how amazing they were. I think so many of the games that we've played this year, it's been like after I put a little bit of time into the game, that was when it started really like, hitting. After you gave it a bit of a chance and it started to hit. Definitely, that's been my experience of the whole year in games.
Love that. God, I need to play that game. Go on then, Rebecca.
Yeah, so I have been playing And it's a little bit complicated, right? Because we're recording this episode so far in advance that by the time this episode's actually out, the full game's going to be out, and I'm going to have reviewed it for the site that I work for. But it stands, today is the early access release date of Life is Strange Double Exposure. The first 2 chapters are out today. For people who've bought the extremely pricey and really probably not worth it early access bundle, but because I'm press, I got to play it a week early anyway to do a little preview on it. And naturally, I mean, regular listeners to the pod will know Life is Strange, one of my like unholy trinity of long-term hyperfixations in games at the moment. So obviously I was really, really excited. I fought to get the opportunity to review this. And I have like a sort of my take on it at the moment, having played now 40% of the game, give or take. It's about 8 to 10 hours. It says 10 hours on my PlayStation, but I think it was 8 with a lot of being in a pause menu while I went and made dinner because I realised how late it had gotten, to be fair.
That's so real.
It's that sort of, it was definitely
really
that sort of experience. But it's, and I was saying this earlier before we started recording, but it's strange to me that they've not linked this new game to the 10th anniversary of the franchise as a whole, which is coming up in January, because it's so clearly they're doing the sort of like, we revisit the original protagonist in this very anthology style series. We revisit the original protagonist in real time to sort of check in how she's doing on how she's doing 10 years after the events of the first game. And it's such a weird one because as it stands, like I say, about 40% of the way through the game, on like a technical level, on the level of the way the game looks, the way the story is followed up, the way the characters have been developed, the way that the mystery, because it's probably the purest murder mystery yet in this series. That's always like a bit of a murder mystery to some degree or another. It is a very
interesting,
like straight up lays out its stall. It's like there's no ambiguity here as to what we're dealing with. You know, it's a murder mystery from like very early on in the game. It's all great. It's fantastic. It's a really, really good, like very high visual quality, like high concept. We're not time traveling this time around. It's not time travel yet this time around, but there's like universe hopping and a little bit of time traveling there maybe. It's got all these like really cool superhero elements as Life is Strange does. And I'm really enjoying it. But there is a little certain sense where just for me, just yet, it hasn't quite evoked the very specific nostalgia I feel when I think about the other 4 games.
Interesting.
There are 2 reasons that might play into this. 2 theories, if you will, that I've got as to the case of why Rebecca likes it but doesn't quite love it yet. Actually 3, to be fair. The third theory is I'm just not a big Max fan, and like going back to Max is fun and all, but she's just not my favourite character. And so it's like, because like when I first played the first game, I identified with her so hard, and then I kind of kicked back against it in a probably very Freudian way. Reason number 2 is it's the first time I've played one of these games for work, and so maybe just like that, even though I was like really enjoying the excuse to spend my whole weekend playing Life is Strange as a preview, that maybe affects how I feel about it, and maybe I'll, when I do a replay for myself, maybe I'll feel differently. But another theory that I think is more interesting, at least, is that this is the first time Life is Strange has had a protagonist in their late 20s. And there is a feeling of this like settledness to her life in a way that it's always been like, Life is Strange has always been about these like young people who are just branching out into the world, and like they're always looking outwards and seeing all of these like, there's always a horizon in Life is Strange, even though you're like in quite a small area as you're exploring the world. There's always like a horizon that the protagonist is looking to. There's like a future that they are, in. It's a very like, I'm not naive to the fact that I sort of got to vicariously relive my kind of like late teens and early 20s through a lot of these characters, because it happens broadly in real time. I'm about 5 years older than the characters, and so it's always just been a way to look back on like my life 5 years ago in a way and think like, I'm happy with where I am, but isn't it nice to remember that kind of like that potential, that excitement you have for a life that you don't know how it's going to shake out yet. Whereas now having like a 28-year-old protagonist, I'm kind of there like, the difference between a 28-year-old and a 34-year-old is not as monumental. And maybe that's part of like their sense of like the teenage dream of how they have all these things that they're going to do is kind of not there. She has a job that she likes, and it's so weird because it's so real. She has matured in such a realistic way between the games that she stars in. She's the same person, but the difference between 18 and 28 is really perfectly sketched out. And I love that. I love what they've done there. But at the same time, and through no fault of the game, because the game is good at what it's doing, it's kind of lost that one thing that for me was maybe the secret sauce to making Life is Strange like something super special to me and not just another very cool like narrative adventure game. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Like, need to say, the mystery is way cool. Just like, honestly, 100%, the mystery is way cool. Like, this is just me climbing down from like super hyper fixated to this is really good. You know, potentially, obviously, I've still got 3 episodes to go.
This is one of your favorite series of all time.
Oh, yeah.
It's the year of Rebecca. So if this game isn't as good as it should be, then it's a hate crime against you specifically. But how does it feel to have a new Life is Strange game, to have played a chunk of it, and to maybe not love it as much as you thought you might?
I'm honestly, like, it's not a disappointing experience. As I say, I think that it performs what it's meant to be performed. I would have been, right, okay, because I wasn't a person who ever wanted a direct sequel in this series. When they announced it, I was like, I'm interested to see what they decide to do with it. Yeah. And they've done the right thing. If she was still 18-year-old Max, it would have been unbearable. It would have been so grating. And the way that they've had her mature, I love it. I love that for the character. And I like the opportunity to check in. I was saying to Rachel before we started recording, I hope they don't keep doing direct sequels. I hope that this is like, most things in Life is Strange, they don't really repeat I mean, every game has a similar sort of formula, but in terms of like the wider scope concept, they did the original game, they did a prequel to the original game, they did a very disconnected but direct sequel, and then they did like an anthology follow-up that followed some minor characters into a very different like thing and story. And now they're going to that total like follow-up of the original character. And like, I want to see them keep taking those big swings in different directions. And if this is my least favorite Life is Strange game, which it might be from what I've played, it's still like a solid A. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely. If it's not like A triple plus and it's just an A, that's still an A. You know? And there's a lot to love. There's a lot to kind of like question in terms of the way it's been sold, specifically with the, you know, the Ultimate Edition, which adds half the cost again for what is essentially early access that will be irrelevant in a few weeks' time. 2 hours of packs.
That is wild.
And a DLC that
so
just
weird.
doesn't. It's a cat DLC, right? It's like it feels kind of manipulative, honestly, to be like, you know, you're paying for not getting spoiled. You're paying for cute cat in the house that you live in. You're paying for like 3 nostalgic oriented outfit packs that don't really make any difference to the game. I don't love that that's an extra 50% on the cost. I don't love that the physical edition doesn't have the flipping game in it. I find that all...
It doesn't?
You know, well, there's a collector's box, which is different from the physical edition.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, it's got the practices around it I don't love, but in terms of the way that the creatives involved are working on this franchise, I think that they've got it nailed on. And the thing is, because they're so experimental, if everything doesn't work for you to the same degree, the next thing that they do probably will. So I have a lot of faith in what they're doing with this franchise, and like, I still really love it. Maybe at the end of this, I would prefer to go and play Life is Strange 2 again, or play Before the Storm again, than play this game again. But yeah, it's still like I say, and it might be that I get to the end and it all pays off in some like glorious way that I have not anticipated yet, and that it really because a lot of things do. A lot of things haven't really kicked in by, 2/5 of the way through the story. That's also perfectly legit. But I mean, even so, I'm not having a horrible time playing as Max, who I sometimes thought if they ever return to Max, it would be so annoying, because she is so she's the sacred cow of that fandom now, and to do anything with her character does risk alienating like a very vocal part of the audience. But to have done that is bold, and I respect the hell out of that. And the fact that she is likable in the way you see her is like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to I don't have to be irritated by this person. And there's just little things they've done with her character. I love that she's still awkward.
Yes.
She's like still very socially awkward,
That's
but in a way
good.
that like as someone who has been a socially awkward teenager and a socially awkward person in the late 20s, it's a realistic sort of like progression.
Okay,
And-
love that.
I love the way they've treated relationships as well, because like whatever relationship you had her in the first game, if you did have her in a relationship, that's in the past by the time like this game rolls around. That's very controversial because again, that relationship, another very sacred cow in that fandom, and to like it's a swing for the fences to not include it, but I think it was the right choice, and they make it pretty clear why it would be the right choice for the characters. Like, not every teenage relationship works out to the point where you're still together 10 years later. It seems like this has always been a pretty realistic series for that sort of like emotional realism. But I love as well that her new love interest, they have a totally different vibe. There's no yearning. She'll just go up to them and be like, hey, like, I like you as more than a friend. You want to hang out? Like,
no lesbian yearning?
Exactly.
What's this?
There's a little bit of lesbian yearning, but it's like, you know, there's always someone in that interaction who is just willing to be a normal grown-up about it.
Yes.
And I thought that's like really refreshing, because everyone's like, how are they going to handle it? Every Life is Strange game has had this like massive sort of will they, won't they, like cutesy kind of way. And I just like the way they were like, people are going to not be into this, so we need to cut the bullshit. And it actually really works for older characters to just be like, we've all had long-term relationships. We're all experienced at like actually talking to people we're attracted to. We can handle this like grown-ups. And like if you turn someone down as well, they're like pretty chill about it. And I was just like, this really works. It's not going to work for everyone, but this aspect of it definitely really works for me.
Love that.
Nice. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts when you finish it.
Yes, me too. I
know. Oh my God.
And I want to play it as well. Oh.
Yeah, I'm deliberately not saying anything about the actual mystery because I know you want to play it, and I like also don't want to. Obviously, this episode will be going out 2 days after the full game's launch, so I'm guessing if any of our listeners do want to play it, they probably won't have played this game, which is going to come in at probably about 20 hours, I'm guessing. So
yes,
I won't go into the sort of actual central story, but yeah, that's my feelings on the sort of peripheries of it.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's such a fun experience just to like, as I say, see what they do, which is never what you expect them to do next, and is always very fun to see. Yeah, so I think that brings us to the end of what was originally a Halloween episode. I think that's sort of like we did a very neat midpoint of that being the Halloween episode, and then business as usual, but hopefully in a very enjoyable way.
Yes.
And if lately it's been great. And if you're wondering when shall we three meet again, then how about on Discord?
Hello.
This is a reward, hopefully, for people who've stuck with this weird concept all the way to the end and put up with my like English degree bullshit for this long. Is that, we
love it.
We have decided to start our own dedicated Discord server.
We have.
The details of which have fallen all the way out of my head now that I've tried to talk about it. So I'm going to throw this one over to Liam, who has been, as ever, the instrumental force in setting this up.
It's me, it's Liam, putting on my best presenter voice. We have a Discord now. We've finally packed our bags after sleeping on the sofa of RPS's Discord for the best part of a year, and we've moved out into our own place like big adults.
Yay!
Yeah, we've made our own Discord server. You can find the details of it in the description of this episode, or you can find it at indieventurepodcast.co.uk. There'll be a big banner and a blog post on that website, so you can join the server. And please do join. Our aim is for it to be a place for you to talk about episodes in a way that doesn't conflict with other things happening at RPS. And we also want it to be a place where you can talk about indie games in general. So we've set up a bunch of channels so you can talk about indie games and recommend games to each other, and just like provide a nice cool space to talk about some fun things that we know you've got an interest in because you've listened to this bullshit for 26 episodes. So please do join. It'll be in the description. And hopefully there's more than 3 people in, but the 3 of us are in it at the moment. We've got some little custom emojis in there.
It's just us 3.
It's just us 3
yet
at the
another
moment.
Chat with the 3 of us because we don't have enough of those already.
And we have been calling each other out in the public Discord, so go and have a look at that, I guess.
Show up for that, for sure.
Thank you for your patience as we sort this out. Like we've said before, this is a hobby and we've been doing it at our own pace, but we've finally decided, okay, we'll give you somewhere to talk about the episodes now.
Yes.
So, yes, please join our Discord in the description or at indieventurepodcast.co.uk.
All right. I think all that remains for me to say then is happy Halloween, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one.
Happy Halloween!
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
The spookiest thing is that we're recording in like 4 days from now again. Indieventure is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indieventure. Bye for now.